Let's talk about a vaccine and what may be on the horizon. David Dodd is the GeoVax chairman and CEO and joins us now to brief us on his firm's steps for vaccine development. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
So where do we stand? Because for instance, Novavax, another company, got a huge amount of money from the federal government. You have not yet received funds, although you've applied. What is that telling us?
Correct. Well, the industry is in an unprecedented race and working in the fastest speed ever even imagined to get to a point where we will understand the degree to which a vaccine can actually prevent COVID-19 virus infection. So we're racing to do that, and it'll probably be early 2021, maybe a little bit later before we even know if there is a vaccine that is not only safe, but effective and durable. And those are the three components that are absolutely critical. We started in January with the design. As soon as it was all announced and we were able to obtain the genetic sequence, we developed several vaccines. In fact, we developed 4 vaccines. We have advanced and submitted very quickly into the U.S. government for funding. We are still in active discussions to receive such funding. At this point, we are in what is known as animal challenge testing, and that is where we're using modified animal models that will reflect how a human would respond to see if it is effective, as well as if there is any untold vaccine pathology to which we need to be concerned, or of which we need to be concerned, that might stimulate the virus, which has happened in other cases before. These are the 2 critical components. As soon as we receive a positive word, we will then accelerate into human testing. At this point, we've been funding it entirely on ourselves, and we're a small company, so we can't go quite as fast as we'd like to, but we have laid out plans that we can go very quickly into human testing and be ready to then move into the manufacturing process.
David, it's Julie here. So with all of these different companies working on this effort simultaneously, how do we figure out who's going to actually be successful? I mean, there are huge companies working on it, and there are quite small companies like yours working on this as well. Talk to me a little bit about the background of your company. Have you all come up with a successful vaccine in the past for other ailments?
Yes. Our most advanced product is an HIV preventive vaccine. As you may know, HIV and AIDS has been around now for 40 years, and we have yet to achieve a vaccine that actually prevents it. Our vaccine has gone the furthest in human clinical trials, having conducted 6 clinical trials and still standing on its feet. We've been fortunate. We've been funded by NIH entirely through that journey. But at the same time, that's the good news. The challenge is that it doesn't go as fast as we would like to see, and we continue to wait for what is known as a pivotal trial to demonstrate once and for all in a very large trial the degree to which we actually prevent infection of HIV. We've also developed vaccines based upon the same technology against things such as Ebola, cousins of Ebola known as Marburg virus, Lassa virus, Sudan virus. We have a Zika virus vaccine that so far has been the only one that has not shown the vaccine pathology of stimulating another virus once it's given. So we've had very positive results with the approach that we have. The challenge we have is, just as you state, we're a small company. We're dependent largely on funding. And at this time, we're soon to be doing a recapitalization of the company to go out for private investment so that we can accelerate, first and foremost, COVID-19 into human testing, while we hope to still receive, and we expect we'll receive, funding from the federal government also.
And David, of course, thinking ahead, once we do see a vaccine, we understand that this virus, of course, has disproportionately affected folks in low-income communities, folks with diverse backgrounds. I think the latest stat is that Black and Latino people have become infected with the virus at 3 times the rate of whites. As I understand it, this morning, the New York Times did report that there is a federal task force that's looking into the prioritization of those sorts of folks kind of getting to the front of the line, right, when it comes to having access to vaccines. Are you in talks with any folks kind of being pulled into those conversations? And what is your stance there? Do you think that perhaps the elderly and people of diverse backgrounds should be prioritized here?
Yeah, that is an excellent question, because first of all, there will not be a single vaccine if there is a vaccine. Remember, 16 years ago with the first SARS, we were never able to have a successful vaccine developed. Fortunately, that virus disappeared for all intents and purposes. But generally, what most people believe, and what I believe with 30 plus years experience in the industry, is that there will be multiple vaccines, and some working for specific groups. You touch on some of those groups. If we look at those that are immunocompromised, frankly, the platform that we use was specifically developed to be able to provide vaccinations for people who had weaker immune systems. So there are some vaccines that may go faster into people, such as the RNA and DNA, but they also have probably a greater risk. And the technology that we use has been shown time and time for 60 years now, used in Europe, and our own demonstrations that for immunocompromised patients, that may be the elderly, that may be certain populations with comorbidities, all of those types of populations we will need vaccines for. What we anticipate is a variety of different vaccines for different populations. Now, related to the epidemiology across different cohorts, as you mentioned, we have been in active discussions with some members of Congress who've taken a real strong commitment and focus in this area. And there are guidelines that the industry accepted. All of us in the industry have at least stated that we will adhere to them. We have been advocating for years now that when one looks at HIV, we recognize that African American population represents 12% of the population, yet it represents 43% of all new infections. The number one cause of death to African American women of reproductive age is HIV. And what we've been advocating for is a much different approach to, for instance, HIV prevention vaccine development, specifically because our platform has been noted for being able to be utilized in different populations. It takes a little bit longer for us to get it through development because we have to grow cells up versus inserting straight into the DNA. But once we're there, we can really handle a certain amount of the population very nicely.
David, a lot of us are counting on you and your team to turn the if there's a vaccine to when there's a vaccine. We wish everybody at GeoVax the best. And we want to once again remind everybody that David Dodd is the chairman and CEO.
Hey investors, Zach Guzman here. Are you interested in learning more about the markets and getting the latest financial news? Well, then click right here to subscribe to our Yahoo Finance YouTube channel. Get the latest up-to-the-minute market analysis, big interviews in the world of finance, and information on how to manage your money every day wherever you are.